All right, so value note catcher part 2. We are going through scumbling and stippling on this side, and I have grabbed a Sharpie and a pencil. So, scumbling is using loop-de-loop lines, just like that, kind of like a cloud in a cartoon, to create value. Again, I'm not worried about how dark my pencil lines are. I'm worried about how much white space my pencil is allowing in each of these to make more or less value, okay? So, same thing here. I'm going to add a little bit of scumbling to my first one. I don't want to do a lot. And then to my darkest value, I am going to fill that in. It's really just a bunch of circles. See what I'm doing? I always feel like it looks like when two cartoon characters get into a scuffle in a show and there's that big cloud that pops up and then you just see limbs everywhere. That's what I think of. Scumbling is like a scuffle, okay? So I've got my lightest value, I've got my darkest value here. I'm going to go back to my lightest. I'm going to do a slightly darker value. Then I'm going to move to the right, do a slightly darker value here. I would say that's pretty good. Moving over, doing a slightly darker value again here. Starting to overlap those circles a little bit more. My mid-tone here. Layering them more and more so that I'm really creating a middle ground. And you'll notice there's way less white space here than there is over here. Okay. Again, just like in our previous two note catcher value scales, I'm going to work from the right to the middle. So I'm going to go over here, make a slightly lighter value than my darkest one, overlapping lots and lots of little loops, barely leaving any white space, but just enough that it's slightly lighter than the one before it. Moving over to our next one, we're adding more right here. Again, making it slightly lighter than this one. I'm starting to realize this one that I always say is the hardest one is going to be tricky. Maybe I need to make this one darker. Really like remove any value or any white space. Make this one a little darker too. Okay, so now we're doing my dreaded one where I have to match these together. So I'm gonna try to find an in-between here. I think that looks pretty good, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's great. So, again, light all the way to dark, only with how much white space we are adding. Again, all of these lines should be pretty much the same intensity, and I can go through and like make some of those lines a little bit darker so we really understand. I'm not trying to make these lines lighter. So, last one is stippling. Stippling is really, really time consuming. It is a beautiful strategy for adding value, but I'm not gonna ask y'all to use your pencil for this because this super fine tip is going to take forever because stippling is just dots. Okay, so we're going to be using markers for this. If you're using a Sharpie, you need to be really, really careful with the tip of this because I don't want all of my Sharpies to be super, super dead because everyone was just pounding their papers with the Sharpie. So be gentle. So again, lightest value of stippling right here. I'm just going to add like 5 dots. again, we're talking about white space here. How much white space do we have? And then I'm going to go over to this side and make my darkest value. This takes a really long time, which is one of the reasons why we do it last, because everyone can work at their own pace here. But I am going to add enough dots, and I'm going light. I'm not pounding this paper with my Sharpie. I'm being gentle. Until I've made this page, or this box, the darkest value. You're trying to add enough dots that we don't see pretty much any white space. All right, I took a second off camera to finish stippling this first one because it took me, I would say, about 2 minutes to do this square right here. You'll notice that there's not a lot of white space at all. But we are going to go back to our lightest side, and we are going to create this second value. I think that's pretty good. Okay, and then again, just like last time, you're going through and you are adding more and more until we get to the middle. I'm gonna add a few more for this one. It's tricky with the Sharpie because we no longer have the option to erase things, so you have to be careful about how many dots you're adding. I would say that's pretty good. Gonna go here and just kind of go a little bit more ham. And again, I'm going light here. I am not smushing my marker down on the page. There is no need to do that. The ink is going to transfer no matter what. I think that's a pretty good mid-ground. Okay, and then I'm gonna work from this side again. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna do all of the stippling dots for my second darkest value. Okay, I just completed my second darkest value. Now I'm gonna go in and create my third darkest value. And these get lighter as we go, so they get easier to complete. I'm gonna say that's pretty good, and I'm gonna leave it like that for a sec so that I can make this value in between the darker values and the middle here, just to make sure that everything evens out, and then I can always add more here if I need to. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Maybe a few more. I don't want to tread too far into that one though. Maybe add a few more here. Okay, there you go. Stippling, scumbling. You should have all of your value scales created now.